Hey everyone, another video today. We're going to talk about how safe a Glock trigger is when it comes to sear engagement, the firing pin engagement with the trigger bar, specifically the back of the cruciform in contact with the firing pin itself. So first things first, this Glock 17 Gen 3, let's clear it, make sure it's safe. You can see nothing in there. No magazine. Dry fire this so we can get inside here. So, this firing pin right here is what engages. Let's pull this forward. Is what engages this right here. So, if you have proper engagement, the firing pin should be covering most of, if not all of, this area right here. That would be ideal for it to cover all of it. Glock says that you can have 2/3 of this area covered and still be deemed safe. I don't feel that great about that, especially after some things I'm going to show you here. But it is, in theory, it probably would be safe, and Glock knows their guns, so we'll stick with what they say. But I think it's ideal to have as much of this sear or this trigger bar covered, and I'll show you why. So let's put this back together here real quick. We'll drop this back down. Let's put the slide back on. So when you cock the, or basically when you rack the slide, that essentially makes this gun cocked or in the fire position. So right now, if you notice, the sear engagement is very good, almost completely covering, about 95% covering. You can see just barely a little bit peeking out. That is ideal engagement. Now this, understand, this is when the gun does not have any magazine and no ammo. And guys say, well, why would that matter? Well, here's why it matters. So on the back of the slide here, you'll notice that I can move this up and down. That's because these rails right here, these rails are not fit perfectly tight to the rails on the frame. That's done for a reason. It comes from Glock that way to basically kind of the best way to put it is to keep the gun sloppy so that the tolerances allow the gun to fire even when exposed to things like dirt and sand and things like that. The more movement you can allow in that area, as well as some other areas on the gun, which we'll get into in another video, that slop or that movement allows the gun to actually be more reliable. So you want that movement. If it's a race gun, or if it was a gun that is a target gun, or something that you're competing with, by all means, get these as tight as you possibly can to the rails on the frame. That's great. But if it's something you're going to rely on and put yourself in a position where that gun has to fire under extreme conditions, you definitely want that play. So why does that matter to the firing pin? Well, what we'll do is we'll look at this engagement again. Let's get a light in here so you can see again. So when that engages, we have that trigger bar covered. So when you take a full magazine, right here, these are snap caps, totally safe, but it's a full magazine. When you put that in, let's put this in here and insert this. Now let's look in here, and you'll notice that that engagement has changed a little bit. That because of the pressure of the magazine and the rounds within it, that contacts the slide, or the bottom of the slide, and slightly pushes that up. This play right here, you'll notice that that play is pretty much gone now because the magazine has taken that and pushed it up, and so that slide is basically locked in place now. So if you have a Glock trigger and your sear engagement is, let's say, half of the trigger bar itself in engagement to the firing pin, and you go and you slam a full magazine of ammo into that gun and let that slide go forward, you could easily fall off of that trigger bar. Easily. In this case, with a full magazine, let's see if we can get some really good focus here. With a full magazine, I'm within spec of what Glock says at normal. Without a magazine, that's sear engagement that they would like. So that's ideal. It may not give you the best trigger pull. It's probably not going to give you the nice fancy trigger pull that you have now and that you think is great. You know, you put in a fancy trigger and all of this stuff and the firing pin and the whole thing, and you got this Glock running great, but you don't realize that you could be that close to falling off of that shelf or that sear, and it only takes not understanding that to put yourself in that position. So a little bit of some education, a little bit of some things to think about. These plates right here, you can buy these online for I want to say $6-7. All it is an engagement plate that allows you to see everything that's going on in here. Firing pin, trigger bar, and then also the connector. It's good to not only use it for checking engagement, but it's also good to see kind of how things are functioning. You know, the way your connector is engaging with the slide, and some of the other parts that are ideal, or that you want to make sure are functioning ideal in there. There you go. That's what I wanted to cover. Be safe with your triggers. Understand what's going on with your Glock. And till next time.